Wisconsin became part of the Union on May 29, 1848. America's Dairyland, home of Culvers, Leinenkugels, Summerfest, and the Green Bay Packers. Birthplace of Gene Wilder, Liberace, Frank Lloyd Wright, Georgia O'Keeffe, Chris Farley, Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer. UFO sightings happen on a daily basis. It has more haunted locations.
Hello, train.
What the fuck?
I legit just got up to get this bottle cap away from Taco, so he would stop making noise.
You burned down my kitchen. What the fuck?
And apparently Taco spazzed the fuck out and thought I was going to stab him.
Next time, stab him.
Watching that happen was epic because you went for it and then all of a sudden watching Taco sprint this way.
He took off as if one of the girls were chasing him, Kitty! Yeah. That's...
That was pretty intense.
He just fucking took off.
Okay. Take two.
We're good. We good.
Cat-free edition.
We'll come back. Aliens.
I mean, I don't trust white people either. But anyway.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
I don't have a legit answer.
But there's that. Well, because there's a stigma with witches, like you were just saying, the fact that they were giving people this brew that made them quote unquote drunk, but they didn't know that at the time. Mm-hmm. And then there's these Native Americans who give them peyote and they get high and all that kind of stuff.
And then
what level do you want to be on is really the case.
You know, we gotta
peyote every time.
We fucked up.
We gone fucked up.
We need to restart this podcast because we forgot to ask Haley where she falls on the Boschel scale.
Not too late. We can ask her at the end.
Yeah, you can ask me at the end.
Or just ask her right now.
No, let's finale it. I'll
Alright,
let that
fine.
at the end. Because we're already an hour in, so.
So I'm thinking a two-parter.
Probably dos partidos. And if I don't throw in some fake Spanish in an episode, it's
I
just
was
not an
just going to say,
episode.
is that Spanish or?
That's what we call Spanglish.
I believe that did you just make that term up?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. No, I invented it just now.
Just now.
Trademark, hashtag Spanglish 2019.
It's 2020, dickhead.
Fuck. No, it's not. Anyway, so where do we go after this? Stop two.
Okay, so we went to the first cemetery, then we ate, then we went to...
Then we went to Hillside.
This was fun.
This is where I got to see Nick and
Fuck
at
you
his
both.
prime. His primo.
So this was...
I get fake Spanish. I get fake Italian.
That sounded more real than my dos-o.
That's right.
But this is...
Hillside is aptly named because it is a big fucking...
It was
it's
huge.
And
I was surprised by the size.
and the graveyard looks big, and it is big, and then you get up, you start walking up on the hill, on the path, and the path winds around, and then you can see the backside of the hill, and it's just as big.
It's one of those things where every time it keeps... You go around a little curve, and you're like, well, this is the... Oh, shit, there's more dead...
Well, and then with the harvest moon shining on everything, I mean, the shapes that harvest moon made from the tombstones were pretty epic, and just
They were
the
creepy as
overall
shit.
landscape of it all was...
Well, and then not all the graves, but there's a good chunk of graves that had different lanterns and colored lights, so that just played havoc with my imagination as well.
Well, and I'm could have been my imagination, but I'm still pretty certain that I saw one of those lights and it was moving around.
I looked at that with you and I couldn't make a
Not like a walking motion,
Right.
but bobbing.
Right.
And not in
you
a...
had said that. I remember that.
And I watched it for a while, and it would just every once in a while it would just sort of duck and weave and bob around, and the rest of them you could see they were sitting perfectly still.
So as I said though, the graveyard experience tonight, and through my eyes, went on a very big upswing from meh to fuck that. And this is the one that was right in the middle, because it was when a little bit of the pee pants started to come out.
Well, when
and
we entered in, the gate was
it was rammed in.
it was
Yeah, so there is a big wrought iron fence that was open, and one side just looked like it got bashed in.
right.
Which is another thing that we kind of left out about the Witch's Tower was
Oh, yeah.
there
That's
is
right.
I was just thinking about
there is a fence around it, and it used to be a lot creepier from what I understand, is that there was either pointy spikes or barbed wire or
Yeah, it
something.
was jails, fencing around, and that was when I was in school. It changed in 2008, so I started there in 2006.
Right. But the weird thing about it is that it was pointed inward.
Right.
And so instead of it being like a security measure to keep kids from climbing over and getting in,
Right.
it was like it was trying to keep something inside the fence.
Inside the fencing.
Inside the
Yeah.
tower. So we go there and that's gone. It's just kind of pokey at the top.
Yep.
But as we were like kind of looking at like, oh, it stops kids from climbing. They're right there. A bent pole where you can clearly tell someone either did or tried to squeeze through.
And then it's also like it's shitty like aluminum.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not.
if
It
you
looks
had- if
it
you
looks
had,
metal.
Like a fucking hammer. You could pop out one.
Maybe
of
a knife. Not as maybe like the one that we got at the restaurant.
like a chammer,
A chisel.
Chisel.
a chainsaw,
A drill bit.
a buzz saw.
This is never gonna end. Oh, good lord.
So yeah,
Maybe a pair of tin stips.
some scissors.
Oh man.
These two have gone off the rails.
No, we have not. This is normal. This is par for the course.
Like a welding kit.
Welding kit. Okay, so hillside.
Hillside. So yeah, the fence is fucked up. So it was already one of those things of like
Upon
they're
entering, it was already just creepy.
and
Nick
the,
wanted to turn the car around.
yeah.
I did.
Well, he did. Nick did his classic. I'm gonna point the front of the car at the exit.
Y'all make fun of me, but the day that shit goes down and we gotta hightail it and the car is facing the road, you'd be like, man, I've always made fun of him for that. But
Because Nick's
man,
theory
we got
is
outta here
ain't no
real
time for
quick.
backing up. Time to
Ain't
go.
no time for backing up. Yeah, but you would have to unlock it after the 8 times that you locked it. So.
It's true. Nick has a tendency. He'll lock it as we get out of the car. As we're walking away, he hits the key fob, boop boop, and then about 20 feet away, boop boop again, real quick, just to make sure. Triple
Just
check.
to make sure.
Triple check.
By the time we lost sight of the car, the heebies had set in.
Had taken over.
They were increasing as we walked away from the car, and I was like, is that someone by the car? Is that someone by the car?
But he was more afraid of the college kids on Friday the 13th
I
than
was.
he was
Fuck,
of the
man,
witches.
I don't trust them. I don't fucking trust college kids. You give college kids any sort of leeway, like, oh, I just did it because it was Friday the 13th. I mean, I don't normally go around murdering kids, but, it was Friday the 13th with the full moon. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it again for another 30 years.
It's like
so.
the Purge, or what is that ever called? What is that
Purge.
called? The Purge. Yeah.
That happens every year.
So it's kind of funny because if you all listen back to the Sanitarium Hill episode where Nick and I were in the woods out back behind,
First time Jake experienced this.
and it was about 10 feet in the pitch black woods that Salty Nick made his first appearance. It was about the same here. That first curve,
Yeah.
just as the car's
Yeah.
getting out of view, Nick starts his power walk.
And his
No, on the way up, it wasn't.
the size.
That's how it builds up. The power walk.
I didn't know if
happens-
I was breathing hard, if it was him.
The power walk happens when I know we're heading back to the
That's
car.
true. That's out the.
It's the
Or you try to convince us to walk the lit street rather than go back through the graveyard.
well, yeah, that was the most logical sense.
It was a fun experience. It's a creepy graveyard. It's huge.
We were trying to find,
Pratt's,
Morris Pratt's.
because he's
grave.
buried up there.
He's in there.
We did find a huge. It looked like a stage mausoleum, almost a foundation.
Haley just kept wandering off, creeping the
Haley's
fuck out of me. Like,
Haley is braver than all of us here.
yeah,
Turns out.
yeah,
Nick and I are walking on this trail. Like, what was that? What was that? And we turn around, and Haley's just off.
she's
30,
gone.
30
She's
feet
gone.
into tombstones.
And like, yeah, 30-foot fucking tombstone. So she's like behind him. Where's Haley? She's like, here I am, guys. Just like pops out from behind a fucking
That was
gravestone.
the girliest voice I've ever had.
I was pretty impressed
No,
with it.
it was-
I
it
didn't
was-
tell my brain to make a girly voice.
It was one of those things of like, look how cool that thing is. Oh, Haley's already just over
I'm
there
already on top. Yeah.
taking selfies with the damn thing. Like, fuck.
How else are you going to see the ghosts?
That's
Hey.
true. That's true.
So, but I did get to do the creepiest thing that I've done.
You did the creepiest
Yeah,
thing
that
that I've
was.
seen you do.
I was
all-
creeped out by what you did. I wasn't even going to do that.
So we'll throw the pictures up. You'll see. But we stumbled upon like a mausoleum, and it wasn't really too like at first. It kind of looked like a shed.
Yeah, we thought maybe it was like a.
So here's what we did. We were trying to guess what it was without shining light on it.
Yeah.
It was a game apparently we decided to play. Like,
Well,
what is it?
up until this point, I had my flashlight, but up until this point, I'm like, we're not supposed to necessarily probably be here. We don't want to draw attention to ourselves because my biggest fear is obviously trespassing.
That's also a theme of this podcast.
Bring the demons, bring the witches, bring the ghosts. man in a badge terrifies the fuck out of me.
That is having this being the 13th probing. That is a very heavy theme in this podcast.
I am not a fan of authority.
Which is, we don't know if we're allowed to be here or not.
The gate's open.
But the gate's open.
Yep. So in the next tale that we get to, we'll see how useful that was. But anyway, so Nick and I are standing on the paved trail of this the cemetery, and we're looking at this thing, and we're like, "It's a shed, maybe it's a mausoleum." Haley just wanders by with her either your phone on or and just graces past it, and you just see the creepy fucking door with a fucking deadbolt on it with a chain. And instantly, I'm like,
bars. It had the window bars.
Yeah. And instantly, it's like, oh, that's a fucking mausoleum with some dead bodies in it.
No, they got nothing but shovels in it.
And so then I'm like, you know what? It's time to flashlight time. And I flashlight on it. I'm like, oh, so look at that horror movie just right in front of me.
You flash it on there, and then you're like, I'm not gonna get a chance to do this again. And you just waltzed right up.
Well,
to the window.
I had to get the Snapchat story going.
Yeah,
Of course.
obviously.
So I wander on up, and as I'm going, I'm just peeing in my pants, just a steady stream, because my fear is because I'm like, I gotta look inside, and I was just like,
I'm gonna walk this 6 feet and not look inside.
That terrifies me.
Me too.
And so my thing is, I'm gonna put the light in here, I'm gonna look in, and just a face, right there, and all the body fluids will enter or exit out of every possible hole as I run away.
That's exactly what happened.
There's an image for you.
But the thing is so I get up there and I look, and it's classic mausoleum, double stacked graves on either side with names, and it's fucking creepy as shit. So I Snapchat the story, and I'm like, okay, we're done here.
Yeah.
And I run away, and I get back down, and as we're walking away, we're about 30 feet away next to the fork, and I go, you know what? The Snapchat only lasts for 24 hours, and then those pictures are gone. Well, fuck, guess who's going back?
Yeah.
Posterity.
So not only are you suffering for the first time, but you decide to torture yourself again.
Yeah, it's like Dennis pulled my tooth, and I go, you know what? Might as well grab that other one
Might
while
as
you're
well
in there.
just take them all
He
out.
loved every second of it.
Oh, it was the creepiest, funnest thing I've ever done.
The anticipation, right? Like the where your imagination takes you, but also the reality of the fact. The fact that these stories lay on foundation of like truths.
Well, I mean, they got to come from somewhere.
Exactly.
So, yeah, because I'm going to show Nick real quick just the pictures again.
Oh, that's right. I told Jake not to let me see.
So just swipe to the...
I mean, they're like legit horror story.
Oh, it's
Pictures.
It's a video.
Yeah, I did take a
Yeah,
video
but go the other way too.
Oh, what?
because I got some pictures of the inside.
Okay. I don't know how to use this Android device.
If only it was like an iPhone.
Get out of here. Stuff.
Holy shit.
Just keep going with your story. Keep
So
going with your story. I'll make it work.
it was one of those things where normally when we do these, Nick can't get away fast enough. I, on the other hand, want more to happen.
Is it creepier that there's glass on the inside and then right? Like, isn't that because like when you shine the light on
it is a little creepier that it's like bars and then the glass.
Yeah.
Like
See,
it's
the-
like plexiglass.
And the thing is as you walk up to it, you hit it with the light. All you see is the light.
yeah.
You have to.
Right,
You
there's
have.
the
You have to stick your face up against it, which is.
Yeah.
There's a creepier picture.
You ever see Jump Scareville? That's Jump Scareville. But yeah, it was one of those things that.
And throughout the graveyard, I mean, there were, like that piece that I stood on that, almost was like an underground mausoleum type of situation. And I mean, some of the graves that were there were from like 1888. I mean, there's
Like the first people that were there.
that were like lived in Whitewater that probably knew these witches.
Yeah.
I just legit gave myself goosebumps because I saw something in this picture.
Did you?
Wow, my logic part of my brain is like it's just light reflection, but I'm gonna show Haley real quick.
Nah, it's witches.
What? I do. All right.
Don't go 4 pictures over because you won't like what you see.
Creeps me out. And like from a distance.
Is this like one of those things of the picture of the eye?
This is like the Weary Road picture, yeah, slightly. I can
Oh,
I can think it away with like some logic,
don't ever logic away anything.
but I don't know. This is
But in pictures that, I mean, you get that, that's what that's from the, is that from the bar?
I don't know. I don't know. Zoom out. zoom out and then look at it from afar and zoom back in then.
Am I looking in like the black square part there?
Hold on, what did you do?
I zoomed out.
Like you.
This makes great podcasting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Hey everybody.
Yeah, it was the black
we're looking
square
at,
area.
We're looking at a picture.
You don't
right now.
see that resemblance of a face?
Close your eyes.
No, I see it.
And it's a little creepier when it's zoomed out. Like, I had
Yeah.
to zoom in on it a little bit more, but like...
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, I just gave myself fucking goosebumps as well when I was looking at it.
I don't fucking like this. Like I said, this
Yeah, and you did that twice.
Yeah.
this mausoleum's gonna haunt my dreams forever.
You said that earlier,
It's
too.
a part of you now.
Fuck. So let's move on.
Yeah, that, we will put those pictures up.
So
and
we
will-
couldn't.
Hashtag moving on.
Hashtag moving on.
After that, I had my fill. I was done.
So that's the second point of the isosceles triangle. So the first one was the Calvary, and then this is the second point, which is Hillside.
Yep. Now, before we move on, we do have to talk about Nick running out of the cemetery. Essentially.
Shut up. First off, you fucking know I can't run.
It's
so
true.
Use your verbiage correctly.
Well, so we ended up walking the. We
Jake's got a very specific name for it.
we walked the whole length of the thing, of the cemetery, and we it looked like it looped back. So we're like, we'll loop back.
But we got tricked because it doesn't loop.
It doesn't. It loops for about 10 feet.
You can stumble down a 15-degree fucking
Death trap.
hill to the sidewalk and take the road back. And we didn't do that because that's
So,
a dumb idea.
well, Nick's suggestion was let's take the lit sidewalk back to the front gate, get in the car, and drive away home forever. But no, we had to go.
Emphasis on the forever.
We had to go back through the cemetery.
I mean, yeah. No.
yeah.
What happened was we were walking back, and someone in this trio said, "Are we going back? Because I feel like something's pulling me to go this way."
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, there's many forks in this.
Yeah, it was actually really weird. That
I
there
didn't
was-
think I'd ever been to that cemetery before, and then when we got up over the hill, it was all very familiar to me. But was it? No, I'm just kidding. It was.
Yeah. No, he's funny.
Okay, so then
Yeah, Jake.
we turned back
continued.
around.
We turned back around.
So we turned back around and we're heading back, and like I'm legit creeped out at this point. That mausoleum freaked me out. The tombstones are freaking me out. Those lights are freaking me out. This whole time I'm doing audio recording as well, trying to get some shit,
Oh, yeah,
which
let's
Nick
not
loves.
forget. Yeah.
Because I tend to. Is there ghosts here? Touch Nick. See what happens.
But the thing is, I didn't get to hear him say any of that this time because I know he walked away from me, and I know he was fucking saying it again.
Oh yeah. See, my thing was like, as you guys were kind of stopping and looking around and stuff, I just kept walking. I was like, I'm gonna get alone for a while, just see what happens.
Now, did you find out if they had bugs when they lived?
No, it's an important question, but
It
I heard
is,
not.
and it's something that you need to add to your repertoire of asking these spirits when you try
They
to
had
contact
what?
them.
I
on
asked
the
one time.
on the MVP recordings.
I asked one time if there were bugs when we were looking at haunted, because we were in the woods. It was mosquito filled. I was just trying to be nice to the ghosts, and I was like, "Hey man, you got bugs back then? Were the bugs this big a problem?" And every time we go anywhere now, Nick's like, "Ask them if they got bugs."
I said, yeah. He was like, so were there bugs here when you lived? That's what he asked the ghost.
No.
He said, so
Lies,
said-
slander.
He said, this is verbatim what he said.
No,
He
this is
said-
slander.
He said, were you a nurse? We were at the Sanatorium Hill.
Where there were nurses.
Were you a nurse? Were you a patient? Did they have bugs when you were
That
here?
is not what I said.
Verbatim, word for word.
No, you were.
What you said.
were
Survey says
50% accurate.
verbatim.
50%
Verbatim.
accurate. Are you nurses? Were you patient? Were the bugs as bad back then? No. Yes, because they were horrible. We were eaten alive. We learned bring bug spray that night. We went and got bug spray. Anyway, that's
you
what my
said
question was.
For the ghosts?
What you said was
Being helpful.
what you said truthfully. Okay. What you legit said was, were you a patient? Were you a nurse? Had they
bugs that bad?
discovered bugs yet
Yes.
when you were alive?
Who invented the bugs?
That's what you asked them.
That is not what I asked.
So anyway, going back to Jake's trying to get me touched by an angel. Or,
So I was doing that, I was trying to get Nick pedophiled, and
Cafeddled.
so we're walking back, and it's already a downhill from there. Like it's obviously getting into the cemetery. I was fine.
30.
But Salty Nick made his appearance, and Nick did the classic Nick Booze power walk of get the fuck out of here.
Salt power.
Salt power.
Salt power.
And it happens, it's the same way every time, no matter if it's just him or I, or if it's us with somebody else. He ends up power walking about 30 feet in front of
I
us.
noticed that.
And he could give a fuck less where anyone else is.
It's the heavy breathing.
That was my favorite.
This is the ramp up. It's the heavy breathing, which is me contemplating, what am I doing? Then it's the vocalization of every fucking time, and I snap it every time. It is, Jake, how the fuck did I let you talk me into doing something like this when I know better?
Are you just not? Are you interested in this stuff?
It's a duality of interest, fascination, and terrification. Like, just, yeah. I think that would be the best term for it, is terrification. I'm terrified.
That is the way of being terrified.
Yeah, I'm terrified.
To the point of
but
enjoying
I'm also
it.
like
I like it. Keep it going.
terrification.
It's like when you get, it's like being addicted to like tattoos. It's like the pain is just enough, you know?
Yeah.
And like it's just there for a little bit, but like
Just
you
that
know-
slight spark.
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
I can use this later.
Yeah, no, it's simultaneously like terrific. Now I can't not.
No,
Terrification.
terrification. I love it. Hashtag terrification.
Terrification.
New name for this. This is the Terrification podcast.
No, Jake's just gonna be like, yeah, terrification booze came out tonight.
Terrification. Buy the T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially when we got to, like, the point where you could kind of see the rest of the walkway to the car.
And that's how it
All of a
always
sudden,
gets.
I looked up, and, like, I think I was on my phone for, like, a second, and I looked up, and I was like, where the fuck is Nick?
And that's how
And
it
then
gets.
you're like, he's already at the car.
And here's the thing. Usually it's just Jake.
Yeah, so then poor Jake's, like,
Nick has
hanging out
left
with
me.
the ghost.
He left me alone in the
He's
woods.
the one
that
who
one.
chooses to sit there and ask the ghost what's up and how many bugs there were back in the
You're
day.
gonna come in on a Monday and be like, "Hey, how is everything going that week?" And you're like, I don't know where Jake's at."
I'm gonna say he was talking about bugs, and then just walk into the
He
back
went
and
asked
go to
him
work.
about those fucking bugs again.
See, because that's the thing is it happens every time. Is he starts power walking, gets about 30 feet ahead, and as soon as we're within eyesight of the vehicle, poof, he's gone.
The full ramp up is these are the stages: the heavy breathing, the inner thought of why am I doing this, the vocalization of why am I doing this, then it's head on a swivel. It's just all over looking as quickly
you
and
did
as,
say you got dizzy.
and I did. I looked up and I spun my head around and looked down and almost toppled over.
I remember walking back, and the three of us were relatively close, and I was like, so which one's going to be brave enough to look back? And Nick's like, I'm already looking back.
Yeah, and then I didn't even think about that. And then when we went to the
Every time
next
I'm
story,
terrified to look back.
I was like, don't.
Oh, yeah.
I was like almost thinking about walking backwards. I was like,
Yeah, and then the final stage is the power walk to the car
power walk to the car.
and leave everyone else in the dust.
See ya.
The whole ramp up is my favorite.
The breathing is mine. Yeah.
I love to experience it. And as you pointed out, usually I'm alone in it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of my own little oasis from the terror
It has-
that I might feel.
It has happened. Yeah, every time we were walking in some sort of area,
Yep.
because it happened at Weary Road.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember the first time it happened. I'm trying to think of which probing we were on with it. Because it caught me by surprise, too, because I had no control over it. Now I'm, like, aware of it, but
I want to say it was Sanitarium Hill.
I think that was the one, because as the woods got darker,
Yeah.
I was
What
very
was the
much...
road? Was that Weary Road?
Weary Road, so
You in that one was.
but you only started watching the probing stories, like, that
Yeah,
was, like,
that's
our
true.
second, either our second or third one, because the first probing of Weary Road went something like this. It's 4 a.m.
And we're done.
Jake and I overslept, and Nick decided to drive 40 miles an hour down a tiny ass road 3 times. Said, "Oh, we didn't see a ghost," and drove back.
Yep.
And then
That was it.
had to deal with Jake being introduced to salty booze for the first time. But then the second time, Jake and Frank took a walk, and I sat in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put myself on timeout. I was
So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Sanitarium Hill.
So I
that
think
got
it
us
was
started.
Sanitarium Hill, because by then, when we went to Weary for part 3 with Aaron, I was out walking, and that's legit when we saw the shit happen.
But this is something that I enjoy. But this time, I was creeped out, so I was kind of like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
We got one more cemetery to go to anyway, so let's mosey.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
this
let's get outta here.
fucking cemetery.
So this cemetery is it's a little different.
Pull up the picture and read the sign.
So yeah, it's a little different than the other two, mainly because first of all, it's not in use anymore.
Right.
It's full up essentially.
I don't think I can
In at
say.
full at the end.
I don't think I can actually say I've ever been to a cemetery that's been labeled full.
I know, right?
Now that I think about it, I don't.
It's like
I
you
don't-
go up
that's-
to like a parking ramp and it says full, and you're like, oh, okay, I get that. But you go up to a cemetery, that's not normal.
Now that I think about it, I've never. That's just a weird concept to me.
Yeah.
Is it? No room at the end. Sorry, die somewhere else.
So this one going to, we knew like, oh, you can't go in it. Like you're not allowed.
Also, that's right next to a school.
It is right next to a
The
school.
elementary, because
Right.
didn't you say you took pictures there when we were.
I did school photography.
A
There.
little backstory so it doesn't make Jake sound like a creep. We used to work for a company that did school photography. So when we do mention in the future that we took pictures of kids, it's not what you guys are thinking.
It's not as creepy as it sounds.
We got paid to take pictures of kids.
Yep.
That doesn't sound creepy at all.
That didn't fix any of the problem.
Jeffrey Epstein was not their boss.
No.
Not like on the level. But
Jake's just in his head because he's like, I'm taking that whole fucking segment
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
It's like he can be as big of an asshole as he want right now, but he knows I'm just gonna take it out
all I'm gonna try and edit it so it's just like Nick took pictures of Jake.
for money
Something weird.
with his camera.
KCAMERA. Cook camera. So anyway, so this one, it was kind of a thing of like, I just wanted to go get a picture of the sign because that's the main thing. So it's a pretty good sized cemetery
Yeah.
too. Again,
That is unconfirmed.
I mean, you can
Oh
drive
no,
around.
that's
we
it
drove
is
a-
confirmed. We did drive.
Yeah,
we
I would
drove
say it's
the
at least a
perimeter.
block. Like,
It is a city block.
it
It's
is a city
a
block.
block deep.
Yeah.
And it's a longer
I
block.
forgot that we drove
Right,
around
right.
3/4 of the perimeter. That's true.
We pulled into like a parking spot and we kind of walked the front part of the cemetery to the front gate, and there it is, the sign, and I will read it right now. I'm gonna post a picture of it too.
This is what the sign says.
At the front gate.
Every to a T.
Yep, it says, notice, as the cemetery is no longer used for burials, it has been fenced in and gates locked for the protection and safety of our children. If for some reason you need to enter, keys are available at the Hillside Cemetery, signed Whitewater Cemetery Association.
Now, as Jake is reading this, Jake and Haley are both kind of reading this, shining flashlights on it. I'm snapping and kind of adding to the snap story. I'm outside of the gate, so like the creep factor hasn't set in. But I look and
Until.
You guys were you were distracted reading the sign, but it was the moment you said and locked for our children's safety. I looked and I was like, that shit's not locked. Like that padlock is unlocked.
Which is crazy because all 4 years
That's
that I
right.
was there,
Yeah, you were saying that
every
earlier.
single time we would use that school to go vote, and it was never open. Like, you could never get into it.
Yeah.
It was always closed.
So okay, here's how this goes. Here's how this went down. Not we, not Jake, not Nick. Haley said, "Come on, guys."
And was inside the fence.
And
Yeah,
then
I was
inside
inside
the
the fence.
Jake wasn't done reading the sign for the second time when Haley was just on the inside fence. She was like, "Mary's building. She's buried here." And I was like, I don't care. And then Jake is all, yeah, but the law. And then like we're gonna get the fuzz called on us, and cherries and berries and all this shit. And I'm just like, do I stay or do I go? I don't know. And I said, well,
Well, see, here's the thing: is as she walks in, and this cemetery is really creepy because it is a giant fence around it.
Yeah.
Bunch of trees, pitch black.
Right.
Yep.
It's literally a thing of like,
Not a big hill, but a slight.
and there's that street light right there that has a little bit of light, just enough that you can see like about 10 feet in, and then
It's the
dark.
creepy orange hue.
Just
Yeah, you're right. They're that creepy orange shoe.
That
You're
would be an
right.
instance where that color's creepy.
When it has that arc that goes over the top
Yep,
of it,
it was.
too.
That was.
That was
I
creepy.
like to call that the insane asylum arch.
I mean, that is
Because
essentially
every
what it felt
insane
like.
asylum you've ever seen has
that.
that quintessential arch.
so Haley goes in. Nick is standing next to the door.
And Jake is. About,
Well, a truck comes down the road.
no,
so I go,
we're not. You're outside the fence.
Right,
I
yeah.
was,
Yeah, but remember, I walked away because I was like inconspicuous.
Oh yeah,
It was
Jake was,
like,
Jake
yeah.
was trying to be like, I'm not going in here.
Yeah.
Like that'd be
I felt like we
foolish.
were 13 again.
I'm going back to my. I'm going
I just
back to the
pretended
school.
I just pretended to be on my phone walking down the street as the truck came by.
Yeah.
And then
So the truck passed.
so Nick and I are
finally
standing
decided to
outside the
go
gate.
in.
Well, see, and the funny thing is you could see Nick fighting it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
hard.
He didn't want
so
to.
I didn't.
Because my thing was like, I want to go in, but the law says no, so I'm going to be good and not do it. Nick is sitting there, and Haley's inside. Look, just get the fuck
I'm
in
like,
here.
come on,
you-
guys. Let's
But
go. Come
as
on.
she's saying it, she's also like inching slowly like away from Jake and I.
Right.
So it's kind of a decision of like sit here and just like listen and wait for Haley.
Well, and
Or
she made the biggest argument, and this is, I think, what got you inside was she went, "How often do you think you're going to get a chance to do this?"
Yeah.
And Nick, looking down at his feet, just slid into the front gate. And then I was left alone on the sidewalk, and I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
So then I go in.
Nick was the balance. Was the
Yep.
Teetering.
So Haley's
Haley's walking around with her flashlight out,
and
just
Haley's
like,
a
where's
good-
this
Haley's a
bitch's
good
grave?
30 feet. She's a good 30 feet in front of me.
I'm trying to get these guys in. I'm trying to.
And I can't.
come
Jake,
on.
did you go ahead or did you? Was it like you next to the fence, me, and then Haley, or were you up there? I think you and Haley were up ahead. Of
I
me
ended
for a
up
little
passing
bit.
past
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So it came to a point. I had I was maybe 15 feet. Like I'd gotten to the dirt trail, and okay, it's a children's fucking cemetery, which is creepy enough.
Yep.
And I got into the dirt trail, and I just had this thought, like, okay, that sign says that this is locked for protection of the children. But we showed up, and this fucking lock was unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Friday the 13th with a full fucking moon. And I stopped, and I said, guys, I'm fucking out. And it was like someone, like, quitting a reality TV show. It was like, no, I'm done.
I just
They're
gotta
just
get
like,
outta
I'm
here.
done. Like it wasn't even a breaking point of like terrification. It was just like, no, I'm
When
not.
as soon as you said that, Jake was like, "Sure,
yeah, I'm like,
let's
no.
go."
It was an avalanche of like that first little bit went, and I was like, good, Nick's out. I can get
No,
the fuck
I
out
was
of
like,
here.
it wasn't even a terrification. It was just it was definitive. Like, no, this,
you're like, I gotta get
this
the
is
fuck
a
outta here.
fucked up situation.
Yeah.
This isn't. It was just like, this isn't creepy. I said, there's something fucking askew about this whole
Right.
thing. Like,
Well-
yeah, it's a child's cemetery, which is creepy, but something about this seems really fucking off to me.
That was the point where I was like, I shouldn't be turning around.
I was like, Haley, I'm done. Jake, I'm done. And I just walked out.
Well, see, and like as we're walking out, Nick's like, well, I got a thought, but let's get the fuck out of here first. And we're
Yeah.
walking down the street, and he goes, it's a little weird that this cemetery that is always locked is now randomly open. And I go, you know what's really weird is we were at one cemetery and went, we're going to go to this cemetery.
Yeah. I didn't even hear you say that.
By the time we get over there, oh, magically the gate's unlocked.
I know.
And I'm like, Nick, you're right. You know, there's probably somebody like 30 feet in
Yeah.
that's just watching us like, I'm going to get him.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was legit what was in my mind. It was like, there's some fucking prevert wanting to touch my beehole, just hiding behind a grave. Wait.
There-
Once again, we're here for the witches, and yet he's afraid of the beehole.
Yeah.
See, well, no, because there was somebody, I bet you there was
Under
somebody
that
in there
orange hue.
who saw us come in, went, yay, saw us leave, and went, now what do I jerk
Everything
off
we've
to?
talked about is fucked up as a town that Whitewater sounds like it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it
You
past.
have the most legit theory I've heard all night about it. I was just thinking some rando was back there like, yeah, waiting to. I mean, Haley told us when we drove by her old house where she lived.
Yeah.
She's like, oh yeah, and then the guy that lived next door to me held his family hostage. And I was like, gee, and that was like my introduction to Whitewater. Hey, welcome
Yeah,
to
let's go down
Whitewater.
this road, and then I'll tell you about how this.
Yeah.
By the way, by road, it's essentially an alley.
Yeah, an alley. Turn down this tiny little street.
So all of that kind of, I think, came to a culmination at that graveyard, and I was just, nope, this is too fucked up. Not doing it.
No, because it's a weird thing that, like, so Whitewater in general, like, whether you believe in witches, whether you believe in ghosts, seem to have something kind of fucked up about it.
Yeah.
The whole
Some shit happens. Lots of, so yeah, it's a messed up town, and just thinking about that, I'm like, yep, this is just a bad, like, what are the odds?
Right.
Right. No, exactly. Like
Right.
I didn't hear you when you said that theory, and now that you're saying it, like that just hits it home for me. I was like, yeah, that was way too fucked up of a situation. That was just some fucking psycho waiting. And so, okay, I don't wish any of this to happen, but we need to check the local news like the next week. I mean, this episode, this probing, won't be coming out till about February. This is our last episode.
Right.
Probing. We, in the next week or two, need to keep an eye on local news in Whitewater for tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Just, and then if by random chance something fucked up happens,
Yeah.
we'll definitely, like,
No.
you'll know when we know that you know that the news knows.
Well, see, and something that kind of got me too that I didn't think about until we were in the car, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's kind of, there's a good chance that something like we said we were coming here. But also the sign that on there says specifically if you want to get in,
Right.
the keys are at Hillside Cemetery,
Right.
where we had just
I
previously
mean, we
left.
went to all three. Yeah, we were at all
Right.
three cemeteries.
Right.
That's true. We went from Hillside to that one.
Yep. So we went from the place where the keys are to the place where the door is.
Where the
That
door was unlocked.
Fuck, dude. You just fucked me up for doing any cemeteries now. For real. Like, now I'm just thinking about just fucking psychos sitting in cemeteries getting ready to fucking kill us. Forget crackheads on the north side trying to stab us. Like, now I'm only going to think about fucking psychos waiting to fucking jump out at fucking
Yeah, but we'll never
shake
know.
us. We will in the news if some other kids got
That's
stabbed.
true. Okay, perfect. Send them in there.
Well, I mean, there you go. But who knows? Maybe, maybe we're just it's all for naught, and maybe the groundskeeper forgot to lock it.
so so at the end of the day, the thing is I doubt he forgot.
I know Gary, and he's a solid man.
Yeah.
And he always covers his ass.
You know Gary too?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I don't know Gary, but he sounds nice. But at the end of the day, the thing is like I went in hoping that we would. It's as we've said repeatedly, Friday the 13th, full moon, harvest moon, what the fuck ever. Weird time of year where not only does today's date forward and backwards, but like the rest of the week's date forward and backward. It's just a weird time. It's beginning of fall.
Right.
We're heading into September, October, that whole fucking weird time.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, I mean, if we're gonna see something, maybe we'll just, even if it's just some weirdo,
Right.
something to give us a good story. I honestly didn't really think about it or put two and two together as far as like how fucking weird Whitewater is in general.
Right. Just like the overall, like the community, and I mean,
To me, it's sort of, it encapsulates the whole idea behind this podcast, and which is you kind of get like a surface scratch, and that's what we got with Wisconsin. Was like, oh, there's some weird stuff here and there. There's Beast of Prairie Road. There's the Ridgeway Phantom. There's all this stuff. There's haunted buildings here and there. And then you dig a little deeper and you go, oh,
yeah.
there's a lot of ghosts.
Yeah, there's a lot more eerie things that happen.
Oh, every lake has a fucking lake
Right.
monster in it. Oh, there's a bunch of Bigfoot sightings up
Right.
north. Oh, there's a fucking vampire.
Right.
This is a fucking weird state that you wouldn't, you don't, when you go like paranormal state and name it, nobody goes, ha, fucking Wisconsin.
Right. No, they only think of like Ed Gein.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what we have as far as like mainstream goes, is we got Gein and Dahmer.
Right.
But nobody thinks about like Wisconsin is one of the highest UFO sighting like
Right.
states.
That's what you guys were saying. Yeah.
Well, sorry, I fell asleep for a minute. What were you guys talking about?
What a fuckhead. Yeah, so it's a lot of UFO sightings, a lot of Bigfoot sightings, a lot of ghosts.
Which we hope to uncover all for you.
So like I was saying, Whitewater sort of encapsulates all of that, which is just a tiny version of it, of just like there's everything
Yeah,
there.
there really is.
Yeah, it's a smattering of everything.
I mean, we could probably go back. I mean, we could go back next week at the same time and probably experience something completely different.
Really different, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that was the
I think
thing
the
about,
overall feeling is going to be creepy.
Well, and that's the thing with like the kids living in, when you live on campus and you live in the dorms, I mean, you experience these things time and time again, but it's always a different type of experience. Like, it's not always the same, or like that girl in East or Wells East isn't always like, in the same spot every time. It's not something where it's like you can read it in a book and that's where it's going to be.
Right. Oh, speaking of books, real quick, just throw out there is the Legend of the Locked Book, which is supposedly like a witch book that people who
Oh, yeah, you guys were talking about that.
people who have read it have been compelled to kill themselves. I think it said like 3 students and a professor. But if you actually go talk to the librarian, it's not a thing.
Yeah,
We asked every year. They wouldn't show it to us.
Yep. And from what I've been able to gather from information, it's actually just like an old book of Christian hymns that just happen to be in like a locked storage unit.
Right.
And everyone's like fucking ghosts or shit. Because it's Whitewater. Of course, it's Satansville.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, just that's that. I want to get Nick's last opinion though on like, because obviously to me, I think there's something there. Witches, I don't know. And it kind of, I think it would depend on what your exact definition of a witch is.
Well, right. Like, what does a 21st century witch look like anymore?
Right. Are witches, like, because when you think witches, you kind of go to black robes, pointy hat, weird fucked up nose, green skin.
No, you go to pointy hat, cauldron, brooms, cats,
Right.
stars.
But we all know the stereotypical thought of like witches. But then you can get into like pagan witches, which are healers.
Right.
You can get into Native American lore of witches, which is more of a natural force. They made pacts with natural, like nature-based deities and stuff that are more feral in nature, more creature-based.
Right.
So it's kind of a thing of like, well, what do you expect when you go witch hunting, essentially?
Right.
But as far as just a fucked up area,
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts there, Nikki?
I would be interested to go back. So, I mean, everyone puts a big stigma on Friday the 13th. So going into this, when we decided that we were going to do this tonight, I think psychologically we amped ourselves up a little bit. So there's that layer right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing the stories, especially like you were telling, your experiences, everything like that, the digging and the history that you found, Jake, that's another layer that just kind of built on top of the last one of creepiness, and then just physically being in those places, the third kind of final layer. I would like to take out the first layer of Friday the 13th sometime, and
Right.
maybe I don't know that I would be willing to do like a full follow-up, but something of like, okay, the second 2 layers of the experiences or the stories and the history, and then the physically being there, those of kind of like, they won't come as such a shock,
Right.
and see if that feeling, that fourth kind of aura like layer of just the overall feeling
Like
of
being
that
there and
one, just the whole kind of like the physically being there and experiencing it, the history, the stories, but like the ambiance of the, there's another layer there that just is like, was that because of the first 3 layers, or is that something that exists there that that
Does Whitewater have a weird vibe because it was Friday the 13th and we were there
and we
specifically
kind
to
of
do it?
set ourselves up for it?
Or is it something that if we randomly drove through the town, we'd be like, this is a fucking weird town?
Right. That's exactly what I was.
I get it.
trying
And
to
my
explain.
thing is, I do want to go back. I think it would be great to get a hold of whoever to that third cemetery. I'd like to go in with permission.
Shit, we went to another place and this wasn't even what I was going to circle back around to. Went to the witch's house.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Completely forgot about that.
anyone local there, students especially, will know the witch's house on the corner of
Trat and
Florence. So lots of weird stories of this lady.
Yeah, nobody walks down Florence Street.
I have a personal contact.
You've heard secondhand. Just say what you
I know a guy who I work with a guy who goes to school at Whitewater UW, and he walks past her house a lot. He always tells me stories of like walking past her house, seeing her, and she's either doing some weird dance thing. She's putting up some sort of weird, like he said once there was like a piece of wood out front, and she had put like weird old pictures of people up. She'll be talking to herself or yelling to herself, but it's like clearly not English. It's like gibberish. And then the weirdest one is, I guess, once like she stopped him on the sidewalk and was talking to him and basically was like, be a shame if you disappear like those boys that they found in the quarry. And then found out later that they had found a couple of dead boys in the quarry that's near Whitewater. And it's just a fucking weird, like, and I'm sure any students at UW Whitewater that are listening to this, like, have their own stories of this lady, because she's got her own presence in town. People know of her. So we drove by her house.
And we stopped outside her house, and I couldn't tell at first what she was watching. I thought she was watching It's Always Sunny. But she was watching it was either her or her son.
Yeah, I don't know if her son
her son still lives there.
I don't know if he still lives there, but he did at one time.
Yeah, and and Haley, didn't you have some stories that you had heard about the witch lady?
Yeah, there were some kids who had passed away or were found in the quarry, and 2 of them were college students that they assumed were just drunk and walked home, and it was cold, and they just found themselves. But one of them was a high school student who had been known to terrorize that house, and it was like 2 years after that. He was like a senior. It started when he was a sophomore, and he was found in the quarry, and so there wasn't anything wrong with, like, he wasn't like just, like, it wasn't like he was like shot or like stabbed with a knife or anything, but he was
like a switchblade.
a switchblade. But yeah, so
A kashank.
that was my senior year of college there.
A broken piece of glass.
Good glass.
A sharpened toothbrush.
A shiv.
What I wanted to circle back around to that I can't believe we never even like thought about talking about. So now we're gonna have to go freestyle on this without doing research, unless we pull it up right now. But why? Okay. Do either of you know off the top of your heads, like, what is the significance of Friday the 13th? Why does it carry the lore of being like I know the full moon one, I get that, but I don't know that I actually have ever really researched or looked into like why Friday the 13th is so significant or spooky. Or, I mean, I know we do 13 episodes because of the paranormal tie-in and all that, but
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't know what it is about because there are Wednesdays that are the 13th. There are Saturdays
I
that
think
are the
13 is the number, though, right? Like,
right.
so
Well, that's
it's
why we do 13 probings.
Is it because of the movie?
That's what I was wondering. Has it been just because of the movies?
Right.
But then, were the movies, like, what were they?
Based on,
Yeah,
why did that matter? Yeah.
Could that movie have been Saturday the 1st?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, fun fact, Friday the 13th, part 3, technically takes place on Saturday the 14th, because it's the next day. Just throwing that out there.
He's got a point.
Anyway, luckily we live in the year 2095 or whatever. So I went to their goggle machine, and it says right here, the superstition surrounding this day, Friday the 13th, may have arisen in the Middle Ages, originating from the story of Jesus' Last Supper and crucifixion, in which there were 13 individuals present in the upper room on the 13th of Nisan, Monday, Thursday, the night before his death on Good Friday. So his death was on Friday. There were 13 people at the Last Supper. So I assume that's probably where the superstition comes from.
That's the quick look up.
I mean, I don't know why 13 is an unlucky number. I know why where 6 comes from, because 3 is a holy number with the Trinity, with the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit or whatever. So 6 is an inverse of that. But I don't know exactly why 13 is. Well, it's just unlucky, I guess.
So would 3 threes be like a super unlucky or super lucky?
Super lucky.
3 sixes are. I know that.
Yeah, 333 is supposed to be like super. It's a holy thing.
But maybe it's
Right, but
maybe
what
it's
if-
not specific to like Friday the 13th of like October or September, right? Like it's whatever Friday the 13th it falls on the 13th.
But then, okay, so why would why would 9 not be an evil number? Because if you
Right,
added
that's a
3,
good point.
3, and 3. But I do know. Well, hold
It's
on.
a Trinity. It's because 3 times 3 is 9.
Okay.
oh, so
I
is it the right
think-
number?
Well,
See, what I think though is that what's weird to me is that no one is afraid of the number 7, because 7 actually 8, 9.
but 7 is... What a fuckhead. What a fuckhead.
The longest setup that I've ever had to do. Worth it.
For a second, I was like, did he just say that? And I was like, yeah, that was funny.
I sure fucking did.
I sure fucking did.
I could fucking hate you.
But no, legit though. Like what you said does make sense. And then
It's right. I mean, it's right here. Every time you Google it, it comes with the same story that Christians believe that Friday is unlucky because that's when Jesus was crucified. Okay. So Friday bad, Jesus cross. 13 is just the number of guests at the Last Supper. I
Friday.
assume. No, but I assume you know why 13 is probably bad.
Wednesday, Ash.
Nick, I'm gonna tell you the same thing I tell my kids. Mouth closed.
Okay.
Silent Fox.
No, but do you know why 13 is probably bad? It's because who is one of the guests at the Last Supper? Probably not.
Judas.
Judas.
So why does he
Thir-
tie into 13?
Because he would have. He's the 13th guest who betrayed Jesus. So
Did you see Joseph in the Amazing Color Technic Dream Coat?
Jesus in the
I watched
coat of-
Veggie Tales.
Jesus in the coat of Jesus in the coat of watercolors.
Yes, that guy.
Oh yeah, I did
Go,
not.
go, go, Joseph, you know what they say.
We don't own the rights to that.
We don't.
But she said less than 15 seconds. It's educational.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. So
But anyway, I mean, I assume that's probably where it
That-
comes from.
I
All the
mean,
number
all of
stuff
that-
always comes from religion. So I mean, and it makes sense
Well,
that
and I mean, witches are their own. That's their own
Yeah.
religion.
that's
it's
true.
their own religion, and it's also a scapegoat used by Christianity mainly.
You know what would be cool for you guys to do, too, is to talk to some of professors who have been there a long time.
See, and I was gonna, before Nick started this whole diatribe of 13 and such, I was gonna say I want to go back. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying.
I know, but I'm offended by the use of the word diatribe because I
Yes.
don't know what it means.
I
I feel like it's mean.
unexplained. I was saying that I want to go back to the cemetery with permission, but I'd also like to try and get hopefully through this have some students get a hold of us and be
Yeah.
like, can we get in a
Yeah.
couple of these dorm
That'd be
buildings and
cool.
see what we can find?
That'd be
Talk
cool.
to
Yeah,
a
that
professor
could
or a teacher
definitely-
or somebody. Get us into some of these places that we would be too afraid to just,
Right.
hey, what's up, guys?
Well, right. Well, and also, like we were talking about before, like 30-year-olds asking to get into.
Yeah, see, because I would like to check out the Alpha
Oh yeah, the
Sigma
house, that's right.
sorority house. But as I told Nick, who's like, let's just go knock on the door. Yeah, 2 30-year-old dudes walking up to a college sorority house.
I don't even think one girl would help you.
They'd be like, yeah, we don't live here.
As I said, that's why we brought Haley along.
Yeah, because that makes them
What's more promising? What?
Don't start your sentence about college students with what's more promising.
Fine, let me end my
their
sentence
future
with a
education.
joke then, okay?
It started as a joke.
Do you know why witches can't swim?
No, why?
Because they have rocks tied to their legs.
Sick burn, dog. Sick burn.
Nick. Jesus.
So, on that horribly offensive note to witches, I think we're going to end this here probing. But real quick, before we bamf out on our brooms here, we did skip one
Important segment.
one detail of every episode, which is the
Every episode.
I mean, every episode. I guess, yeah, with a guest. We like to, Nick and I have created this super awesome, famous, mega awesome scale of believability. which is a scale of 1 to 10. Do you believe in the shit?
It's the Boschel scale.
I don't like that
Use the
word.
scientific.
I don't like.
Okay, is Vooz better?
Kinda. Anyway, buy the shirt, but so we've set this up, and on the scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you don't believe in stuff at all, 10 being like I saw Jesus or something.
10 has been touched by an alien probe in my butt.
Yeah. I'm an alien right now. So like for me, I'm like probably an 8.
I think I did after the UFOs and Weary Road. I bumped myself from a 2. No,
Yeah, you were at a 2.
was I at a 2? I was at a 2, and I bumped myself to a solid like 3.5. 4.
Yeah, you barely jumped.
I
for
barely
solid.
jumped, but it was also
What about after seeing that sign on the outside of that?
my paranormal cherry was broken.
So we like to ask a guest, like, where do you think you fall? And like, have you ever? I mean, you've already said you've had some experiences
Oh, yeah.
yourself. So
I'm like an 8.5.
okay,
I mean,
you're
I've
more than-
experienced things outside of Whitewater, like at my parents' house growing up. Like I've experienced things.
She has more midi-chlorians than you, Master Jake.
I experienced something with Carrie.
I'm a better
the other day.
swordsman.
What?
Not the other day. I always do that. I'm always like the other day. Well, in May, so it wasn't the other day.
It may have been May. It may have been the other day.
Yeah.
Go on with your story.
Some hey, I just may.
She came over to. So we work with this woman who has a little bit of clairvoyancy, where she's able to. Well, some people can hear, some people can see, some people can taste, some people can smell, and she's a smeller.
I can do all 5.
Like the witches, all 5. And she came over to a house that my parents were selling downtown. Her and her husband were thinking about buying it. And this was like 3 weeks after I met her. So this was actually this was like in like March. And she came over and we were down in the basement, and her and I were in a room together, and her husband and my dad and her son were out in the other area. And she's like, this room kind of smells. And I was like, I can't really smell anything. And then all of a sudden, the lights just turned off. And then they turned back on, like, within 3 seconds. And Carrie was like, what just happened? And I was like, I walked over. I was like, Dad, did you just turn off the lights? He's like, no, what are you talking about? And that's, like, the second time that Carrie's told me a story of something that has happened. I mean, she's got way more. But
So she can smell
she can smell. It's like,
the ectoplasm.
sure. Sure.
I've seen
Whatever
a
it is,
movie or
it's
two.
more of a, I mean, she says it's a musty smell.
Okay,
So yeah, she's got a little bit of that in her.
so that's cool.
So there's that.
So I don't think we've met anyone yet that falls below Nick. What was Aaron?
Aaron was up like 6 or 7, I think. He was up near you.
Frank was the one
was
who's-
like a solid, like, nah, it's all horseshit.
Frank's like, there's no such ghost isn't even a real word.
Frank's like, what the
I
fuck
think
you
it
guys
goes
talking
back
about?
to. I think it goes to like similar to religion is like what's your belief on it, right? So if you believe more in it, do you experience it more?
Well, and that's depending on who you talk to, that's the idea, right? Is if you are not open to it, of course
Right.
you're not
How
going to see
are they
anything.
able to come into
Because so it's a whole thing, but that's really cool. I like meeting people who. I liked going with Frank because it was cool to have
There's a
someone who
difference.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was the first time we had a guest, too, so we were riding that kind of like, what's this going to be like? And then,
But it's nice to have someone who's like, nah, it's not.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's good to have contradicting views, and then you're able to kind of see both sides of it, and then also.
But it's really
the convincing factor, though, too. If they're able to be convinced on the situation or like see what's actually in front of them.
well, that's why I went from a 2 to a 3, because I don't know, we recorded maybe 3, 4, 5 episodes before I saw the UFOs and the Weary Road 3.
Sure.
And I had been on not a high horse, but I had just been like, I gotta see to believe sort of
Right.
thing. Like
Right.
I can't, like, there's weird shit that goes on that can't be explained.
Right.
And like I talked about, like letting my imagination run wild. A lot of it came from the sleep paralysis shit too.
right.
And that's why I wasn't like, well, there's not nothing, but I was like, well, okay, I feel safe at a 2.
Sure.
And then that shit happened, and I was like, well, okay. I can't. Doesn't justify fully, like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
there's real shit out
Well,
there.
you're always gonna have a little skepticism, right? Like
That's why I
there's a
only
little
bumped
bit of that.
myself up a notch or 2 because
Yeah.
I what I saw is weird, but it still wasn't like, you know,
I know.
a fucking gray walking out of a fucking spaceship,
Right.
10
right,
feet in front of
right.
me with a probe in his hand, like, come here.
All of a sudden,
we need to talk.
And he's Southern. The alien
You
Southern.
didn't know that all grays
Tommy
are
Lee
Southern?
Jones.
Well, okay.
Well, the thing is they don't use their mouth, so they telepathically have Southern accents.
No, so here's the thing, and I heard this, and we'll wrap this episode up with this thing that I heard once, which is you always hear aliens, they anal probe people. Every story, oh, they stuck shit up my ass. And the question is, like, you have interstellar travel, and you're still using anal probing to figure, like, we have full body scan. We don't even anal probe anymore.
Do you know what the most interesting star in the universe is? The Rusty Star.
But the idea is...
That's why they do it.
No, but the idea is, why do they always sound like Southern people? It's because they're the Hicks of the universe that come to Earth, and they're like,
They're the trailer trash of the universe.
we got ourselves a spaceship, but we're gonna stick this in your butt just to see what happens. Like, that's why.
Why are you doing this to me? For fun.
We just want to see what happens.
I'm gonna make you squeal
The
like
smartest part of you is.
We're gonna make you squeal like an intergalactic piggy. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Haley, thank you very
No,
much
thank you guys.
for joining
this was
us.
wonderful. I
We
appreciate it.
We hope we lived up to the hype I've been selling you on for the last month and a half.
110%.
Oh man, I was hoping for 111, but I'll deal with it.
Giving 100, anything more than 100% is impossible.
I apologize.
overachievers.
113%.
Oh.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay. I would have preferred 131%, but you know, that's fine. Bygones are bygones and whatnot.
Nick's getting salty. He's gonna power walk right out of this podcast.
No,
Yeah, yes.
I'm gonna let you all know that you can catch us on all of the medias by now. We're on Snapchat, America Scaryland, Gmail. If you don't know it by now, whatever. Stop
The
listening.
name
I don't care.
at gmail.com.
Yeah, and the S
Nick
is
doesn't care for our fame.
the S is shared custody. We got
We got Twitter, we got Facebook,
Twitter, Facebook,
obviously,
Tinder,
Grinder,
Plenty of Fish,
ChristianMingle.com,
Christian Mingle, lots of farmers,
SouthernHicksWanted.com.
Intergalactic.
That's not a
Space-
dating site. It's just something that you should look.
Intergalactic pigs.
Intergalactic white trash.
SouthernHicks.com is not a dating site. It's just something
.org.
you should look into.
Um,
We've lost the entire
Yeah.
sale.
Do you guys want to start over?
they're gonna
Yeah,
they're
we
gonna,
probably should try again.
they're gonna secede again because of this podcast.
Fuck them.
And
I'm sorry, that's cut.
on that note, I just want to let you all know, thank you for listening this season. We truly appreciate it, and the outpour that we've gotten from you over this last season has been awesome.
It could have been
We're
better.
gonna come back in a couple weeks. We got some special stuff coming up shortly, but we're coming back in a couple weeks for you guys.
Listen to this fucker making all these promises.
Promises. And yeah, we are looking forward to season 2. It's going to be a fun time. We are pretty sure there's going to be 3 of us. 100% there's going to be 3 of us next season.
There may even be.
There may be 4, but we're 100% positive there's going to be 3 of us, and I'm pretty excited about who our newest host is going to be.
Send your applications in.
And we're just going to shred them anyway.
We're looking for new hosts. Send them in.
But
There's a
just-
$20 copay. That's a non-refundable fee.
it's got to be all in ones.
And,
But yeah,
headshots from the waist down.
trying to get the sign off out.
Good luck.
So
Is that what she?
Doesn't even
That's
make
why.
that makes sense.
God damn it! I'm trying to finish over here. So as usual for season 1 and for this episode,
This
it's been
state,
fun.
this state is creepier than you know.
Yeah. So for the season 1 and for this episode, goodbye, Nick.
Bye, Haley.
Goodbye, Jake.
Yay.